I never had done anything to do with software engineering before May last year. I had an idea in May last year to deal with a problem in my life as a music teacher, to make lives of music teachers and students and that whole ecosystem easier for people. And then I started on the idea. I chatted with the LLMs at the time. They weren't so smart as they are now, but still definitely useful. And it took me from May until, I've probably said this before, but like from May last year until February this year to get an app functional and working. Like it's ugly as hell, but it works. But then in February, like I'd done some testing from September to December last year with my own students and families and colleagues at the music school that I work at. And I realized, okay, so yeah, like it wasn't really the ticket. Like, I mean, it was part of the ticket, but not the whole thing. I was like kind of a chunk missing. And I was lucky to have a conversation with a couple of very intelligent people, and they helped me realize, like I need to actually build another part of the app. So actually now I've got an app for the students, and that's been ready since February. It was, let's say, working since February. And then in February, I had another idea of how I can involve the teachers more into that whole situation. And then I had an idea for like a second app that goes together with the first app. So we've still got one app, but we've got like the student side and the teacher side. And then from February, what is it now? I always forget the dates because the time's just going so fast. February to now, July, like I'm flying through like the process. Like it's just so much quicker already for me. And I never did any software engineering before. And just from doing one app between, like, that wasn't even a year, May to February, not even a year, almost a year, but not even a year. And then in like half of that time, I've almost like gotten like a second app built in half of the time that took me to make the first app. And like, and that's how, like, you know, and I'm slow. Like I'm slow. I'm learning with things. I had a chat with a professional coder yesterday. I'm actually swapping violin lessons for help with. I have some lovely parents that are very talented people that do jobs that are useful for helping me with what I'm doing with the app building. And so I'm swapping violin lessons with some of them because their kids are coming to me. And I had a chat yesterday with a mum. She's a professional coder, and I'm showing her some of the stuff that I've done because I'm just bringing me and Claude or me and Grok or me and Gemini or me and ChatGPT, and then, like, you know, keep switching and swapping. But at the moment I'm with Claude Code, and that's I'm pretty happy with that. But like just showing her what I've been doing, and it is kind of interesting to see the reactions from someone that actually knows about all that stuff, you know, from and me just like learning it as I go and DIYing it with the LLMs the whole time. And it's like, I find it really curious. And also, you know, I'm on X just watching, like, there's a lot of techie people on there, and I find it super interesting to, like, I follow, I don't know, like over 1,000 people. I've got myself 50 something followers, and most of them are bots, but, you know, nobody needs to know that. But I didn't do that. The bots seem to like to follow people, you know, but just following all these amazing, super smart people in the tech world on X, and just seeing like their comments about all this stuff that I'm also got my hands in. Obviously, like there's many things that go over my head, but just watching everybody kind of working it all out, and what do they want to do with it, and what they can do with it. And it's like, oh yeah, I just made this thing that's kind of helped with that thing, and oh, you know, you can do these loop things or these harness things and all this stuff. And I'm finding it also really interesting because sometimes, like, just by accident, I'll I will like have worked out like this harness thing. I mean, I couldn't even explain to you exactly in a nutshell what that is. And if I did try to do that, I wonder maybe I still haven't got it right. Like, okay, maybe I'll try. So that a harness, if I'm building a harness, say so okay, let's say with Claude Fable, I'm on the pro account with that, so that they keep saying, Anthropic keeps saying to us, okay, you got Fable until this date, and then they're like, oh, actually, you've got it now a little bit longer, but just that I'm getting, like, I've been prepping like a bunch of times, getting ready for not having access to that anymore, and because it's like my own limitations, I can't financially afford to get these €200 versions per month. Well, it would be fantastic to have that, but it's, so I have these kind of limitations on me, and also just with my skills and my knowledge of it as well, and that makes me think about things differently. So I'm like, okay, right, I won't have Claude after this date, like Claude Fable after this date. This is ultra smart new model that's been brought out not that long ago, and so in preparation, like the first time, with like, because the US government actually cut it, like people weren't allowed to use it for a while, because they said like there was some issues with it security wise, and so they actually cut it, and you couldn't use it. But that happened only like a couple of days before Anthropic had said, anyway, you're only going to get usage to it up until this certain point. So I was already getting ready for not having access to it anymore. So I said to Fable, hey, like, can you do a thing, whatever, in the background there in Claude Code, so that when I'm using the models that are not as smart as you, that it gives them a framework to pull them in line and not let them hallucinate and go off down rabbit holes and like waste freaking 2 days just going back and forth and arguing with me, or like saying, hey, you need to fix this thing, and because I don't have the expertise to look at it straight away and be like, nah, you've like full of crap. Like, I don't need to do that. That's a rabbit hole. Like, it's because it's like, I don't know if the AI or the LLM is bringing up something. I'm like, well, he's brought it up now, so I have to look into that, because if I don't, then I'm worrying that I've got some mistake in there in my app building, because I just don't have that expertise to know straight away yes or no, or park it for later or whatever. So it's like, oh man, you brought up another thing. Okay, I'm going to have a look at that now. And that's going to take a day or 2 days or longer. And just to work out what they were talking about. And then even if it's like you go through all these motions and you come back to square one, you just say, bro, like, that wasn't necessary at all. But that's my learning. That's part of my learning process. And it's getting definitely like improving, like, wow, my goodness, like, improving so quickly anyway, because like it was taking me from February until July to basically have a second app already ready that goes together with the first app that took me almost 1 year to build the first one. Like, that's how fast the learning process is going for me, because of the LLMs just getting also exponentially better and smarter, and it's crazy. But the harness thing is what I'm trying to explain. Like, this is my experience of building it, and I could be wrong in my explanations. Like, if I'm great, like, I'll learn something else fantastic. But from what I think and what I think that I've learned, and what I'm reading and listening on the podcast and stuff, with all these very smart people, is that like by accident I built a harness, because I was sitting there and I'm like, why are they talking about these harnesses? What is that? And then I'd been with Fable, be like, hey, can you make this thing so that it like draws the dumber LLMs when you've gone in line, so that I can get my work done better and quicker, and not keep going down these rabbit holes for no reason and all this sort of stuff. And then that was like set in place. Like, I felt the first time that Fable got pulled offline, I had like one more question. I was like, I really wanted to ask Claude Fable like one more question, and it was already pulled. I'm like, no, I had one more question. But it basically, like, the worst of it was done. And then later I'm just like looking at more stuff on X, like, and I'm like, man, I think that I built a harness by accident. I didn't know it was called a harness. I was just telling Fable to make a thing just so that the LLMs would like kind of, you know, do what I actually wanted them to do and give them some guards and guides. And yeah, I was like, wow, that's sick. And I've been finding that along the way. It's like, I don't like these. I mean, obviously, you know, people. This is all new tech, and so people just kind of, you know, make up a new name for a thing, and then the thing is named like vibe coding. You know, that didn't exist a couple of years ago, and now that's a term for a thing that's kind of like I wouldn't say I'm a full on vibe coder, because I use some code and stuff like that, but like, I mean, I'm vibing, I'm giving the LLMs my vibes or ideas, and then I'm like, hey, how could we do this? Blah blah blah, and then still working with code stuff, and it's not just visual things that I'm doing. But yeah, that's yeah, I just finding like my limitations that I have, like as far as just like, you know, my background goes of not being studied in this area, and financially as well, it actually works out in a positive, because it's like I had these harnesses built for Claude Code ready to go to make my workflow even quicker, and because I saw like the capacity to be able to do that, and then it got cut away, and like, okay, but it's not too bad, because basically I'm ready anyway for not having access to that thing. And then Fable came back, and I'm like, okay, right, let's go. Like, I knew that time, just like, hey, I only got Fable now for the next few days, when they allowed us to have access back to it. And like, okay, right, let's go Fable. Like, we got to do this, and this. I already have like, you know, my big long documents in Notion. If you don't know what Notion is, like, check that out. That'll change your life. And like, it's, you know, and I was just like, okay, how do we get all this stuff done? Like, I want this done. I want to stop going down these rabbit holes. And I just, yeah, it was actually like, somehow it was even good that it got taken away from us, because then it gave me like a bit of time to think about it. But again, it's like, if I didn't have those limitations, I would have just been like, oh, that's fine, I'm going to have Fable forever, maybe even the Mythos thing, and I can burn all these millions of tokens, and that's no problem, and I can just be lazy with the thing, and then like get caught up and like take my time, and no worries. But because I had that time limitation, and probably because at the start was anyway like, okay, you've only got Fable access until X date, and then a few days before that the US government took it offline from everybody, that like that limitation was like, ended up being like a positive thing for me, because one, I worked out by accident what harnesses were, and built it, and it was like working for me. Like, then when Fable was gone for a few days, I was like, that's okay, I was already ready, had everything in place, and was working with Opus, like the model that's like before Fable and Claude, and yeah, like also ultra smart, but I find kind of like is a bit like a bit manic, because it'll be like, hey, I've got an idea, and then it's like all these ideas, and if you say like one thing, it's like, okay, great, and we'll go like all the way down this rabbit hole, and it's like, holy crap, bro, like you got to like rein it in. And so that all this harness stuff that Claude Fable put in place for me, like that like it's like sick. That's, you know, and if I didn't, yeah, again, like, I'm sorry, I'm repeating myself, but if I didn't have those limitations, like, I wouldn't have done that, and I would have learned about the harness thing so quickly like that. And yeah, and it's pretty cool. It's very like, it's amazing. I just love that you can have an idea, and then you can talk with your brainstorming power that's so ultra smart, and you just be like, hey, I've got this idea, is it possible to do it, how can we do that? So now I'm finding like I've been able to kind of like, I've got a grand vision for the future, and now I'm working myself like backwards almost from that. Or I've got like the grand vision, then I've gone back to like the beginning of that. Okay, so how can I make the beginning versions of my apps, like the basic tiers of my apps, make sense for what my vision is for the future, but what's possible for me to make right now? And yeah, you know, yeah, it's like, it's really cool. It's really cool. And yeah, at the end of the day, I hope Like, you know, if we have the bad and the good, like that, there's like, we got a balance here, and so, you know, then we're going to be all right. So maybe we should do a survey to make sure that you got 50% good people in the world and 50% bad, and then would be sweet.